Ordinary Habits, Extraordinary Life is about mastering simple things in everyday life to expand your views, access more of your untapped potential, and evolve ordinary habits into an extraordinary life. Here is your host, Maria Bailey.
Welcome to Ordinary Habits, Extraordinary Life, where we dive into life's big questions with simple, real, and intimate stories from masters in their field, where we invite you to be curious, be inspired, and simplify the way. Today, we have Peter May, who's an architect, Grammy-winner musician, firefighter, essential oil distiller, nature guide, among other things, a master as a multi-realm alchemist who partners with nature to support healing, balance, and peace. It could be said that Peter's journey began when he was working as a firefighter, clearing pine for sustainable building materials. As the chief of the Kundalini Fire Department in Crestone, Colorado, he was many times the only bridge between the clashing forces of urban human development and nature's way. Peter began distilling essential oils in 2006 and now creates acoustically tuned plant and mineral alchemies with essential oils and offers them in his sound journeys to support increased awareness and healing on the levels of body, energy, and mind. If you're lucky, you can find Peter around the country as the lead in the nature fusion band, the Sonic Apothecary, which is composed of human and plant, you're hearing it right, and plant musicians. Or you can come and meet him at the Sangre de Cristo Mountains when he leads Pranacamps, which are an introduction to practical alchemy, exploring the elements and taking a special focus on discovering and managing the life forces that animate us, the energies that drive us and inspire us. Peter, welcome.
Thank you, Maria. It's great to be here with you.
Absolutely. I was so looking forward to this time with you, and particularly because I actually have a question for you. There's, I don't know if it's a folklore story of the times when you were the chief of the fire police in Crestone, but is it true that you could talk to the fire and literally negotiate these forest fires?
You know, I don't talk about that a lot outside of, usually I don't talk about that a lot anywhere. But we'll talk about it today because you're asking. And
Thank
so
you.
because you're asking, we've heard of the dog whisperer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard of, the other kinds of whisperers. And this isn't something that I set out to be because I didn't even know it existed to be one of those, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
But since I was a little kid, I saw a picture of the wildland firefighters being out in the woods and fighting the fires and stuff. And I knew I had a connection there, even though where I grew up in Michigan, that didn't happen very often. But it did. Every forest burns. That's just kind of the thing. Could be every 10 years, could be every 1,000. And so being open to possibilities, I may have caught myself at the very beginning talking with the fire just kind of like out of a habit of saying hello to whatever it is. Right. And I used to do that when I was little. And then, when you're growing up, you sometimes will curtail that because it's kind of weird. And now when I'm teaching firefighting to my students, I ask them to say hello to the fire right off the bat. First thing you do when you get on a fire, say hello to it. And, there's not a lot of weirdness in that.
Right.
It's like give yourself a chance to be present. Because if you're thinking about what you're supposed to do or what you should have done, in fire, you might not get a second chance. And in some big events where we got actually pushed in a big wildfire in Washington State, a brand new firefighter. He wasn't young. He was more of a bulldozer operator. He said to me, "What do you want us to do when the fire gets here?"
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "I want you to say hello to the fire."
Mm.
Because my biggest concern was that he could go home to his family and just be there with him again. This was no trick. This was about, no, you be present. And that's the simplest way to ask someone to be present, is to actually just say hello. Just maybe even for a moment, because then you're going to engage your entire presence to be in the face of something that could be hugely, hugely dangerous. And so we did. We were all fine. We had like a magic to our whole area. And it kind of, it got out of hand. It went over our line a little bit, but it was very easily to be mopped up and contained. Right. So yeah, I usually don't, but on a regular basis now, I talk with the fire. I mean, I talk with the fire if it's a candle,
right? Because
the fire we're talking with is also, part of us, in sense, the heat that we have, the warmth that we have.
Mm.
So, yes, I have seen fire do some inexplainable things. And I remember times where, it's kind of like a walking meditation. That's probably the best way to explain it. Is You're walking along and you're paying attention, and all of a sudden there'll be no thoughts. Okay, there's just no thoughts. And all of a sudden you just know something. And I remember that in Kentucky with my crew, and I said, okay, it's time to go back. And this was really cloudy, and I had I was new territory. So it's time to go back. And then we got back to our engine, and within about, 5 or 10 minutes of getting back, the whole thing blew up.
Wow.
And so, if you happen to be, if you want to get some practice before you go try this,
right.
You might want to practice with a candle in a safe place. And the whole idea is to get to know that warmth of inspiration within you that we call fire. So it's amazing to talk about this, because I often have led trainings, and we may do it again, but we have live fire, and your whole thing to do is see if you can burn out circles. Exactly.
Right.
And the way you do it, I'll tell you the secret. The way you do it is connect with your fire as well as the other elements. And how do we do that? I mean, it opens up the whole kind of Pandora's box of our own self. So
Peter, can we go back to when you said the habit of saying hello? Because so there's the habit of the hello to the fire, but you talked about it like, well, it's the habit of saying hello.
Right.
So can you speak more of the habit of saying hello?
Sure. And this kind of gets into our practice, whatever our practice might be. And so I learned it from fire. I learned a lot from firefighting and fire managing and fire dancing. And I'll do this with the river. If I'm on the river, because the river, I get on the river and I'd like to spend way more time than I do. And so I have to really get to know it. I remember one time Dr. Emoto, of all people, right? Dr. Emoto with...
Yes, with the water talks. Yeah.
Well, messages in water, right?
Messages in water.
And I met him in Santa Fe. Yeah, and I met him in Santa Fe. And I came back, and he was just inspiring to be there with all these other elders of the pueblos. And there was this whole water wisdom in the air, in a sense. And then I came back and I got on the Arkansas River. And his whole message is love and appreciate water. It can change. And so I got on the river and I started to, in the best way I could, love and appreciate the water. And all of a sudden, I was no longer floating on the water. The river was carrying me. Mm. It's way different. I mean, that's by saying, first you say hello. I mean, that's kind of like the respectful thing, whether you're, a person or, people or whatever. Like if you see an animal outside, you say hello, or you see a tree. And how do the plants sing? Say hello. And where it gets really personal Like, let's say there's a thunderstorm outside and it's up high, and you're totally exposed. Hey, thunderstorm, how's it going? I'm here. Just wanted to let you know. I mean, is any magic going to happen? The magic is already happening. Because if you're going to acknowledge something outside of yourself, that gives whatever that is the opportunity to acknowledge you back.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Of course it makes sense.
And I've seen the fire do crazy things. I mean, crazy, crazy things that shouldn't have happened. And it's
like
almost
what?
like...
You've said that a couple of times.
Oh, like it changes direction as soon as you say hello to it. Like in some fires, fire is actually a really important part of a healthy forest. It might not come back all the time, but it might actually burn out what you wanted to have burned out. It's almost like it's alive.
Right.
And I'm not sure we have time enough to go into why, but nevertheless, the habit here is to say hello. And where we take that even further, especially when I'm teaching the Tibetan life force yogas, is before we begin, we say hello to our body. And that's the body of the physical body, but it also includes the body of emptiness. And, sometimes people say hello to the body, right? Especially if it's hurting. But we often don't say hello to that body of emptiness, of space, that allows that physicality to be.
Okay, I think you're going to have to elaborate because so there's the habit of saying hello, and I can picture like when you said that, I picture it's like, yeah, like the habit of saying hello is just even like, for example, lately I noticed that I wake up. There's some days where I wake up, and especially when it's snowing, there's something so magical about the snowflakes falling that maybe I can put it in this context that I do feel like, oh, hello. But it's natural to hello, right? Because it's new and it does feel mystical, right? So I can relate to the hello to the snow. And I can also see then that has an impact in my whole day, right? Like I'm kind of walking with the snow as it's falling. And yes, I'm inside the house, but there's a relationship. I'm not just inside the house and the snow is outside. There's something happening together. I also can imagine like saying hello to the sunset, So I'm trying to say, like, there are things that maybe I can relate to that are very special things that touch us, right? And maybe the impulse is you're in the presence of something divine, maybe, or special, and you can say, oh, hello. Actually, I have to admit that sometimes it's just something as little as a harebell here in the Colorado mountains. There's something so special of them to me. Every time I see a harebell, I'm just so excited because there's one little purple flower and some tiny little stem. But when you talk about emptiness, I have a hard time relating to that, to the empty body.
So sometimes, that kind of gets into the whole point of the practice. So where we begin is with the physical body. Just like, oh, hello, body. How are you today? How often do we do that? Like as an athlete, I do say hello to my body to see how it is. And so I'll go further and then we can come back to it because I think there's going to be some
okay.
Because the next thing to say hello to is the energy or the emotion.
Okay, so first body, energy, emotion.
First one was physical. Second one's emotion and energy. And the third one is almost like, it's like that flow of life force coming through you. Like let's say something happens and here comes this surge of energy, right? Mm-hmm. And if we take that moment to go and acknowledge it, number one, say, oh, wow, hello, whatever. Hello, surprise. Hello, uncertainty. that's huge. Again, it's the whole thing about acknowledgement and awareness.
Totally. I want to, so we're getting into, that is your habit, and the habit that you teach the people that come to learn with you. And I already can see the benefit. I'm curious, how did that habit develop? Like, what inspired you, or what, like, what was the organizing principle for coming to a habit like that?
I think putting myself in a place where things would arise, and I would say hello to the things outside of myself first.
Mm-hmm. And
Like,
you've done this since you were little. Like, again, I'm trying to, it's like, so little Peter just had this natural, because also, so maybe I'm here with you, like, as I've known you, the alchemist that you are, your insatiable curiosity, and you're just fascinating how you just try things. It's like, well, why not? And you put things together, and it's always fascinating what you come up with in that test. So what I'm trying to test here is, when to arrive at habits at that level, is it a natural thing? Like, people are born with that, and so some people just have these amazing habits, or is it something that you find, something that finds you? You know what I'm getting? I don't know if you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think for me, it's a combination, because you can be born with it. And if it's not supported, it's kind of driven out of you. It's like, oh, what are you doing talking to the tree? Right. What are you doing talking to the tree? And so here's an example. And this is something people can try, right? If they wanted to try the hello method.
Okay.
So I have a group up high, and they're watching me, but then I kind of sneak off by myself because it's break time and everything. And there's this small little spruce tree. We're up at like 10 or 11,000 feet, and I just go over to it and just start saying hello to it.
And when you say a group, it's a group of trees.
A group of people.
Oh, you have a group of people.
I have a group of people from Japan, right? And
right now,
I did
in this story.
In this story, right? And the most amazing thing about this particular thing is that most of them didn't speak English. We have translators, but at a certain point, you didn't need the translator, right? We learned how to say elements in each other's language. So if you were hungry or thirsty, you learn how to say earth and water. And if you were cold or hot, you learn how to say, fire, this whole kind of like code. 5 words can get you a long way. So anyways, I start saying hello to this tree. And then within minutes, the tree allows its scent to envelop me. And so I started to share that. And I saw those, they were kind of like high school and college students, maybe after high school, they started to do it. And other people have had that experience. It actually happened in a race, a ski mountaineering race, where for some reason the trees were just having the best time. And maybe it's because someone said hello to them. Maybe a number of us said hello to them. I mean, that's how saying hello is kind of like the gateway, in terms of the habit is the gateway. And that gateway in particular with the plants has shown me how to use plants as medicine to heal crazy, kind of somewhat serious things like herniated discs or severed tendons or necrosis frostbite, or, things that kind of like, whoa, how did that happen?
And so it's the gateway to whatever your intention is, or?
Well, it's the gateway number 1 to openness.
Okay.
I think that is the kind of like the key here is, what is it a gateway? What is it a habit of? And because if you're not open, you're not going to say hello. Right?
Yeah.
And so you asked, is it something I was born with, or is it something you can learn? I think it's both. Because you can be born with it, but if it's not supported, it will go away. And people get kind of closed and contracted. Some people are maybe born that way, but then they're around so much openness that they can develop it. And so maybe there's a combination for me where I learned quickly early on when I could be open and when I couldn't, when I
Okay.
could say hello and when I couldn't.
Okay, for the interest of our listeners, because well, I mean, I know you for a few years and for many years actually, and we live in Colorado, and this is a very progressive state. But say for people that are maybe not that open, or they're listening to this and it's just like, right, like it's so woo woo, right? Like
So woo woo.
sure, it's
It
so
is
woo woo.
so woo woo. I didn't want to use that term because the third thing to say hello to, which is kind of part of this, which is way woo woo, but we can measure it, which brings it back to science, is say hello to your whole field. So now go ahead and ask. Go ahead, whatever you wanted to ask.
Yeah.
How, what, no one's going to believe this. Like someone said about the plant music, you've got to video yourself because no one's going to believe you.
Right.
Someone said on the CD, spraying like wildflowers. Said, Peter, this is amazing music, but the only bad thing is we can't tell what you're playing. And I said to my friend, I'm not playing anything.
Right.
It's like they just inside you, even though he didn't do it, there's just no way. There's no way. I mean, I'm not that good of a composer. Not yet. I mean, the plants are teaching me how to compose. I mean, that's just like, what do you mean? So let's get back to something that might be more, we're already out kind of on the edge. So let's bring it back and make it more relevant, because, if it's.
Well, it's relevant, or maybe I think everything is relevant because your field, even if people can't relate or don't believe that there's a field or energetic field or your empty body, okay, but they can't relate to that. I want to make it more relatable, right? So even if you don't understand it, even if we, there are experiences that you've had that I haven't had, right? That I feel that are beyond my capacity, but there's a way that it still feels relatable. Like I can relate, like the story I was saying, like I can relate my love to that harebell, to certain experiences that you've had. They're just a taste. I can also relate that I would imagine if I spent the amount of hours you do in exploring and saying hello and in deepening that relationship, well, gosh, if this is just once in a while when I go on a hike and I see in the spring and summer a harebell, then I can imagine how much more would it be if I dedicated more time. So I'm trying to look for the relatability of, hey, so wherever you are, there's a habit or a way you can organize. Or I think what I'm feeling into is like, what is the possibility that we're offering with the habit that you're presenting to us?
Right. Saying hello.
Saying hello. That there is something to say hello to that has the potential of saying hello back to you. And in that conversation, well, go explore that and you find out. We're not here to tell you what that is, right?
I think we could give a few circumstances that could be very useful for people.
Okay.
Because when we say hello, that often means, not always, but it often means that we have chosen to be present in that moment.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Right? So we are saying, like, when I saw you, we had to adjust our volumes and mutings and everything. And I saw you and I haven't seen you for a while. So, oh, Marie, it's so good to see you. Hi, how are you doing? Right? And there's that boom, there's that instantaneous connection. It's just amazing. And then sometimes, like the tree, even though it sounds outlandish, gives its smell back. Maybe that's its way of saying, oh, I don't know. I'm still full of questions too. I know it's happened numerous times. So saying hello and then maybe even asking a follow-up question, and it actually doesn't matter what the question is. Like, how are you?
So how has this habit changed? Well, I think you already lived a very strange life, but let's say how it has changed
I
your
never thought I
life.
lived a strange life until recently, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
So thank you for that feedback. I mean, there are a lot of discoveries and that are coming almost daily now that are backed by
Oh.
science,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
that's how it's changed my life. Is and as that is arising, as information is given or offered, there's that openness, right, of saying hello. And now, do we know also? Can we let that be? Is it okay, or was it too much? Like maybe what we got into just earlier was a bit too much. And so we'll start from here now. We'll start fresh.
Right.
We'll just kind of like say hello and okay, um, what is appropriate?
Oh, I love. Oh,
And that's what I'm learning. That's probably my new.
but I want to slow you down just because something did just happen, and I wonder if I want to give room for our listeners to see if they can sense that state shift, because we kind of started fast, and then there was a bit of a scramble, and just now when you said, "Oh yeah, maybe that was too much," so let's say hello again, and suddenly I felt like here again, reorganized, and like, okay, let's go again. And so maybe even in this moment we can pinpoint that is the shift, like the power of a hello, the possibility of you just saying hello again. We reorganized.
Exactly.
Hmm.
For instance, we're so excited, and I am excited to be here and share, and then I kind of tune in and go, oh, let's begin again.
Mm. How I can now, going back to the relatability, how I find useful that habit is, um, like, I know a lot of my clients are in corporate world, and it would seem like the corporate world is the farthest from the forest, right? But in fact, like, maybe you're there in a meeting and you're in the middle of a forest fire, or there's a fire inside of you, and the the benefit of this habit is kind of taking a moment to just say hello to what's there. And that hello has the opportunity of reorganizing of the moment, and kind of like a starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hmm.
And do you hear that?
No, I hear silence. Yes.
Yes. That is probably my next, that what the saying hello has shown me about the next habit,
Hmm.
as well as music, is to listen between the notes of music and listen between the words. Because, the trees don't usually sing for most of us to hear it. And so, if I say hello to a tree, let's say, what am I listening to or for? And yes, I told the story about the scent.
Hmm.
Is that going to happen? I have no idea. It's going to happen for people. But what we do have that we do share is maybe that in between space of the silence.
what do you do when you're in that space of you don't know that, you know?
You mean if you don't know what to do?
Well, anything, right? I think most of us experiences like, I don't know what to do because we know ourselves as doing, right? Or maybe I don't know, and I could say, well, I don't know what to say because I identify myself, or it's in a saying, doing thing. But I think in the most basic way, it's like just in that silence, there's an awkwardness, maybe even like a little. I feel like a little excitement that can also be translated as anxiety. That then I got curious, given your experience, right? Like how much time I imagine you spend in this space of not knowing, of waiting, of listening. I wondered if you could tell us what it like, or something orienting perhaps of
Right.
this space of silence and listening.
So I think we'll go with two kind of possible methods. And one we've already hit on is saying hello. So as that surge of excitement or anxiety came up, right? Wow, here it is. Oh, hello, anxiety. And you know this because of what your profession. I know it from performing in front of lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
And playing a brass instrument or something I blow. And those are it's not just something I have to hit. It's, trumpet and didgeridoo and all that. It's like you're on.
Right.
And that can really, really change your mouth. And you can like make it so it's like you're not relaxed at all. And nothing comes out, or, not the right things come out. And so, as things arise, acknowledging and saying hello to them, even if it's a lot of them. And Paul Winter, who we made the CD with, the Crestone CD, he shared with me and many of us something called Adventures in Sound Play. And that's where four of us or so, get an instrument we can play well enough, and we all go into the dark, and then we're guided to listen and respond.
Oh.
And during that time, I learned how to hear the silence. Because, we don't have our eyes, we have our ears. And the most amazing and profound things happen from that very simple exercise. And in many of his concerts, he'll do a piece of music that is from that moment. And everyone thinks, oh my gosh, you guys must rehearse this so much. And it's in the moment. And then again, that's how the plants sing too. Most of the concerts we do, most of the pieces we do they might have a format, but many of them are self-arising. And so where that can be helpful is, at least practically, is in learning how to improvise. So I'm hearing the silence. The silence has taught me how to improvise.
Mm-hmm.
In music, let's say, in like a jazz band or whatever.
Well, but again, if I take it back to the meeting, or, I'm in a room full of people.
Exactly.
And then that anxiety of, I need to say something, I need to ask a question. Somebody just asked me a question, I don't know the answer. The listening to the silence, or the habit of saying hello to the moment,
hello
whatever,
to the anxiety, right?
To the anxiety or the shock or the pressure, whatever I'm feeling in the moment. And then listening to the silence that can help me then improvise in that moment. Because
exactly.
because whatever I rehearsed before is not happening. Reality skipped the memo. What was supposed to happen in that moment.
No, exactly. That's like, especially for like a board meeting or a meeting. And it's especially effective there.
Yeah. Well, I'm also thinking, if we take it also more simple. Hey, even if you have kids, at home, it just, especially or now with, we have so many situations, going to the supermarket, or where people's nervous systems are really, I find, stressed, right? And suddenly we find ourselves in, gosh, how in a fire, right? Like we're in the like something flickered, something got ignited, and you maybe, or somebody else is, really, on fire, right? And so going back to like hello, yeah. hmm I guess I'm seeing it like well, like every habit, is kind of remind doing it every day. Is something so simple. Hello, like I'm thinking like, well, hello toothbrush, right? Hello everything, anything. Is it like that? Like in your day?
It can be like hello, like if it's starting to snow, hello snow, hello sun. Um, when if I sit down to practice, can I say hello to different parts of me?
hmm
Um, and there's a lot to say for acknowledgement. Acknowledge, like, oh, hello dishes that I didn't do, right? Hello to,
Oh,
especially, I mean, when you're getting into, um, just like when we began, may this be the best thing for everyone who hears it. And may we have
yeah,
the support. That's a hello in itself,
yeah,
because it does combine
right.
intention, it does combine our presence, and we are also asking for assistance, and I kind of an aspiration.
Yeah,
And, like you just said, so many things are happening these days. It seems like we need a, a extra support now,
right. Yeah.
because sometimes
This,
it can get overwhelming if you try to say hello to everything. And so that's just a caution. Maybe just a few things is fine. Mainly it's about you being present,
right.
and everything else will know that you are saying hello to it. If we get kind of like um, too compulsive about it,
Right.
you're
You're gonna
gonna
have a symphony going.
the symphony's already going. You might miss it then because you're trying to say hello to
Mm.
everybody. It's like, if you have 1,000 people watching your concert, you're trying to say hello to every one of them.
Ah,
That's what I've had to learn. So if you can just be present, just a few things, boom, 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 because your field will start to say hello to everyone.
hmm. I'm starting to think it's like, well, again, it's how to begin with a practice like this or a habit like this. It's like maybe one thing you want to say hello to every day, something you acknowledge, um, every day.
I Yeah, I would acknowledge. um, I'd probably acknowledge the things that give me life and
Right.
support.
So they can acknowledge you back, the things, because when you
Yeah.
acknowledgement it, yeah.
Especially the things that are knocking at your door. And I don't mean just your physical door. Like you go outside and the wind is really strong,
hmm
or
hmm
it's raining or snowing. It's like, boom, there you go. Opportunity. Or if something arises that may have been hiding out inside, and all of a sudden you realize that you do have like an anxiety for some reason today. Wow, I can acknowledge that.
Peter, what's growing you these days? Where's your growing edge these
The growing
days?
edge.
Yes. What are you
Yeah,
learning?
is having mirrors in my life
Mm.
that are reflecting back to me different aspects of myself.
Mm.
And
How's that different or new?
I think how they're different and new is that I'm open now to feedback. That's what's
Ah.
changed. Is there's an
Mm.
inner more openness to actually see and discover who I actually am, not who I think I am.
Mhm.
If I discover something on the outside, is there a balance on the inside? keeping things in balance that way.
Hmm.
As I might have amazing things that I've discovered, but they might not necessarily be amazing to other people. But bringing the balance back to where there's an inner and outer balance. That's what's growing me is bringing myself along.
And how do you practice that daily? What is that practice like?
It's connecting with the silence.
Okay.
That's a daily practice. Yeah. Connecting with the stillness when I can.
Mm-hmm.
Stillness and silence. And then at times a daily practice is connecting with the spaciousness. Feeling very expanded, but also um, um, like there's a light on too, not just spaced. If that makes sense. Like we get so much of the blue sky here. It's like we are the blue. Imagine being the blue sky. Right. Yeah, I think the balance is the key these days. What is, because as we talked about earlier, we made that CD up at 12,000 feet. There's a lot of gifts that have come, and now it's about, okay, how do I allow that to be in my life?
Right.
In a good way. It's, some of them are like, no one's even going to believe it. Okay, so how do I, and maybe I don't, I believe it because it happened, and I keep trying to have those things happen. And when I don't try anymore, then those things happen, and I have to kind of be careful of that too.
So it's I just want to go back. Maybe I am making it more than what it is, but when you said, well, allowing it more, is there something that you're consciously having to what is it that I want to say? Is it a conscious welcoming? Is it a conscious allowing?
Right.
Of what then?
And specifically, I'm talking about the parts of myself that I may have gotten glimpses of,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're coming to the surface more readily.
Okay. So how do you do that? How do you, is there, because again, connecting it to the relatability, I had a glimpse of, wow, I think in the intimacy of our lives, maybe we're taking a shower, maybe we were cooking something, maybe we were taking a walk, maybe it's just a moment we had a glimpse of ourselves and we touched something, but then so quickly we just close it off again and we keep doing what we should be doing, our job, to this, and it just passes, right? And it gets eclipsed so fast. And so suddenly I had maybe it's a missed opportunity, right? What you're speaking to us is, hey, pay attention, like those moments where maybe you find a piece of yourself. There could be a habit or a practice where you allow those parts or those aspects of you to come forward a little more. Is that what you're speaking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, let's say something arises and we kind of become aware of it. And then if we're too busy, but let's say those times when we're not, can we actually connect with it? Even it might be painful, might be a painful awareness. Right? Okay. Can we then do kind of two things at once? This would be about the most easy way to explain it. Can we connect with whatever's arising and then also connect with the silence?
Mm-hmm.
And what can happen is over, time, that dissolves whatever that pain was. And what can happen then, it's kind of like another one can come up too that's related to it. I call it kind of like the zipper effect. You're slowly unzipping.
Unzipping.
Yeah, and allowing that to reintegrate into your life until it transforms. It's not just a letting go. I mean, dissolving is part of it, but the idea is to hang out with it completely until it transforms. And that's something that it's not that popular a thing. Most of us, you have the idea of like we find something negative in our lives and we want to get rid of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what I've found is that negativity, whatever, however we see it, is actually an invitation for changing that energy into a positive quality rather than a negative quality. So on a daily basis.
Well, I was curious, would you tell us a story of maybe a moment where you were unzipping? Kind of like, do you have a story of your own unzipping?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Here's a simple one, right? It's not too many layers. I was doing a ski race in a nearby town, and I love to do that because those teach me. That's still how I'm growing. You asked me that earlier.
Mm.
And because I'm working with the life force flow, okay. I call it life force skiing. And at the very beginning of the race, there was a woman and I was trying to go by, and our poles got clashed. Right, nothing broke or anything, and the words out of her mouth were, "Hey, watch out!" It was just it really upset me. And this was the beginning of the race, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this is I don't want to be near this." And so I just took off. I don't care if I'm going to use all my stores of energy. I'm out of here. I don't want to ski next to that because of what it brought up in me, right? And so this is a 3-lap race, and at the pinnacle of the 3rd lap, there's a big hill, and I get almost to the top. I'm kind of really tired, and here she comes. Right? I'm going, no way, and I just turn it on. I'm out of here. And I wanted to be done with the race, get to the finish line, and not see her because of what she brought up in me.
Right.
And at the same time, I had been getting some training in meditation of how to deal with things like that. Was it her? Sure, it was her. Was it me? Yes, it was me. It was definitely me because I'm the one that felt that. So I went home and practiced with it. In a sense, it kind of stuck with me. It didn't go away. And so I brought that to the silence. And over a period of a week or two, because I did it on a daily basis, right? This was my practice. Just taking that negativity. And so I went back to that town for another race or something. And I look up and I get out to where the registration is, and there's this woman. And she comes up and gives me a big hug, say, "It's so good to see you." I have no idea how that happens. I mean, I could explain it and make it up, but something in me had changed to where that was no longer an issue. Now it's actually a warmth, and now we're actually friends. Actually,
Well, but what drove her to say hi? Like, so good to see you. Were you friends before, or
no, we weren't friends before. No, I just knew her from
out of the blue.
Clash and Poles.
So this was a surprise, like this.
Oh yeah, surprise. Oh yeah. I mean, talk about effectiveness of practice. And at least for making peace, right? With your neighbor or your fellow competitors.
Well, I can imagine several situations where that could be useful in my life.
Oh, for all of us, right?
Yeah, like that person or that situation that just totally, it just gets you hot so quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good to try it on one that's not so
hot.
Yes, because you wanna help to ensure success with that approach. There's other approaches too, but that's a very simple one.
Right.
That now our competitiveness has turned into friendship and warmth. And that's one of my telltale signs is it went from pain and fear to warmth.
And all this goes back to, well, the hello, right? To the hello, to the heat and the anger or the frustration, then listening to the silence and more openness. You said the hello is the gateway to openness.
Exactly, especially because you and I, we've always had a wonderful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in this moment, in our talk, we're sharing and like, yes, the hello is so important because we can bring that into our culture.
But oh my God, you know what I just realized? It's like the hello is almost like the platform. It's sort of like the table.
Exactly.
If you don't have a hello, you don't have a table to serve
you don't have context.
anything. You don't have context. If you have a little hello, you have a little table. Now, if you have a big hello, imagine the feast. You can only feed each other, but you can feed so many others with a huge hello that I guess goes back to that woo-woo that we were talking about, our energy field. And it's our table could be, citywide,
Oh yeah, at least, right? Exactly. Yeah. And, talking about the woo-woo, I mean, we can measure each other's fields. I've got my magnetometer right here. That's what we did for many, many months is do our practice and we'd measure our field before and after.
Oh my goodness.
We want to bring this into where, and I think this is measurable and both objectively, subjectively in as many ways. And we want to be challenged, because this is to be shared. It's not to be kept secret. And that's what I'm doing now is sharing like my secrets. If I think they're secrets, I want to share them. Because, if I have some, maybe others will share them with me and that might benefit me too. And, if they are really valuable, they're to be used in the right context. So hello.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
That's so powerful. I mean, just recently of having different people in my life being able to mirror back to me. And let's say like that woman, oh, wow, that fear is in me. Hello, fear. Yes, you propelled me in that race. Thank you. I would like to be able to be propelled without the fear, but I am open to learning about my own fear. Mm-hmm. Fear of doing something wrong, losing myself in the excitement of the race, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then having it turn into a friendship now, to where that person will look out for me.
Well, so I think it's a beautiful whole full circle of just what a master alchemist you are, alchemizing not only the state you're in, but also the energy, the emotions, the relationship, the experience. Peter, thank you so much for being with us today. Is there a question I didn't ask? Was there something that you wanted to say that I didn't ask?
No, we covered it. I think we got into different flows. Some of it was like a river, and then all of a sudden it got into like lots of flow and rapids and things, and then we kind of got into a pool and slower and kind of reset and then kept going. And yeah, just like what you said, it's the alchemy of life force.
Yeah.
And since a little kid, yes, I have had, in one sense, it's been a gift to be able to sense that. In other ways, it can be overwhelming.
Right.
And so I want to thank you because you're bringing it and making it, available to people and how they could use it in their office setting or on these days, maybe on their Zoom meetings.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the hello. Hmm. I I have to admit, like what you said, my job. Um, I remember modeling, and I remember the last few years of my career, I could see the little hole in the camera, the like the lens inside the lens. And I used to call it, it was like a wormhole. And I could just look in there and I could sense the millions of people who were going to see that picture. And I would just say hi, and my whole body would just light up. And the whole shoot, it would just be just that. It would be like, hello,
There you
hi,
are, right?
hi. And
There you are.
I just remembered this. I just remembered this. And yeah, and it was my belief that modeling at that stage, it was really more of a spiritual practice of, I thought I was more of a stealth ninja, thinking that I was selling, capri pants in a catalog, where in fact it was, I was connecting with presence. That I thought that women didn't buy the clothes because they liked the pant, or maybe they did, but it was more of returning the acknowledgement of of um, of the hello. So anyway, thank you for, I hadn't thought of that in many years. So that was beautiful. Peter, so if people want to reach out to you, contact you, how can they do that?
I have two websites, windhorsealchemy.com, and that's the newest loaded one. It's very exciting because we're getting into all kinds of I've combined all of the websites basically there. And the other one is the Sonic Apothecary. And yeah, that would be the place to go. Pranacamp will be on there, where we explore the life forces.
Okay.
And we work with fire and inside and outside. So
Well, it was a pleasure to have this conversation with you, to learn to be in the experience and in the flow with you of our hello. And to our listeners, until next time, be curious, be inspired, and simplify the way.